Mica. I've been staring at that word all week. It's printed on the back of a glitter jar in my pantry. It sounds like something you'd sweep out of a driveway. And last week, I promised I'd bring questions. So here's the big one. What is edible glitter actually made of?
Welcome to the Monégasque Table. And Dana, that question is bigger than your pantry. Google search data shows it gets asked about 3,600 times every month. It's the most asked question in this entire category, and today it gets the long answer it deserves. The full ingredient list, decoded.
All the way to the bottom of the jar. I want the rocks. I want the dyes. I want the ones that sound like a chemistry final.
You'll get every one. But here's the answer up front, because nobody should sit through 14 minutes for it. Real edible glitter is a short mineral recipe. The base is mica, coated and layered into what a label calls mica-based pearlescent pigments. The color comes from two mineral pigments, iron oxide and titanium dioxide. Plus, in some shades, a few food dyes you already know from the frosting aisle. The F, D, and C colors. That's the entire palette, top to bottom of our line. Not one other ingredient appears on a single label. And the twist this whole episode hangs on, the scary part of this category isn't what's on the ingredient list. It's the jars that don't have one.
Okay, stop, because you rattled that off so smoothly. Let me read it back my way. Mica, a rock, iron oxide, that's rust, isn't it? Titanium dioxide, that's the sunscreen one. You just described a driveway, a rusty fence, and a beach bag, and you called it food.
That's the most honest reading of an ingredient label I've ever heard. And every piece of it deserves a straight answer. So, Sparkle Lab?
The lab is open.
Start with mica, because mica is the whole show. It's a natural mineral that splits into flat, thin, nearly transparent flakes, little window panes. On its own, it barely sparkles. The magic is what gets layered onto it. Coat a mica flake with an ultra-thin layer of mineral pigment, and light does something lovely. Part of it bounces off the top of that layer, part bounces off the bottom, and the two reflections mix. Same physics as the rainbow on a soap bubble. That's a pearlescent pigment. The shimmer isn't a substance you add, it's a light trick.
So the sparkle is physics, not an ingredient.
Physics riding on a mineral, which sets up my favorite fact in this entire file. Gold glitter contains no gold. None. Zero metal. The gold look is titanium dioxide and iron oxide layered over that mica base, tuned so the reflection comes back warm. Try it tonight. Hold a gold jar up to the kitchen light and tilt it slowly. That little shift from deep gold to almost white, that's the layers talking to each other.
I'm a little offended, honestly. I assumed I was paying for actual gold flecks.
That's a different product. Gold leaf, real metal, real jewelry pricing, and its own episode one day. Glitter gold is something better for your budget, an optical instrument you're allowed to eat.
Fine. Next up, defend the rust.
Iron oxide. And yes, chemically, it's the same family as rust, which sounds alarming for exactly one sentence. Because rust is just iron plus oxygen, two of the most common substances on the planet. The version in food is purified iron oxide made to food color spec, E172 on a European label, and it paints the warm half of the palette. The yellows, the reds, the browns, that toasty undertone in every gold.
And the sunscreen one. Titanium dioxide.
E171. It's a mineral pigment famous for being the brightest, cleanest white in the business. In glitter, it has two jobs. It makes whites and pastels possible, and inside those layered pearlescent pigments, it's the mirror. The layer light actually bounces off. In the US, it's a listed color additive for food with a cap, no more than 1% of the food's weight.
Hold on. Titanium dioxide is the one Europe stopped allowing in food. I have read that headline more than once. You don't get to glide past it.
I'm not going to, because this is exactly where this show has to be straight with you. Two true things. First, you're right. The EU stopped allowing titanium dioxide as a food additive in 2022, and the US looked at the same additive and kept it listed with that cap. Different regulators, different calls, which means ingredient rules genuinely differ by market. That's not a myth you half remembered. That's real, and you get full credit for bringing it. Second, the safety paperwork on the luster dust side of the aisle carries a hazard note about titanium dioxide, and it's about inhaling it. As industrial dust, workers in factories, breathing clouds of powder all day for years. It's a warning about a route of exposure. It is not a statement about eating a decorated cupcake at a birthday party.
Okay, so if the jar in my pantry lists titanium dioxide, what am I supposed to do with that information?
The same thing you do with every other label in your kitchen. Read it and make your own call. If you're comfortable with the US rules. It's listed, it's capped, and that warning is about factory dust, not frosting. Enjoy the sparkle. If you'd rather avoid it entirely, you can, because it isn't in every shade, and the label is how you tell which is which. Which, notice, only works if somebody actually prints the list. Hold that thought.
I'm holding it. Last group. The dyes. Finish the list.
The F, D, and C colors. Red 40, blue 1, yellow 5, and yellow 6. The same certified food dyes sitting in the frosting aisle and the cereal aisle. In glitter, they cover the shades minerals can't reach. The true reds, the ocean blues, the party pinks. And that closes the list. Across the entire line. Every drink glitter, every luster dust. It's mica-based pearlescent pigments, iron oxide, titanium dioxide, and those 4 dye names. Nothing else, anywhere.
All right, but that's the family recipe. Which of those is in my jar? Because I bought the drink glitter, not the dust.
And that's the right question, because the 2 formats are built differently. For the drink glitter, the 10-gram jars, take the colors where I can put the safety sheet in front of you, like Iconic Gold, Snow White, and Magic Rainbow. Their composition section reads 85 to 100% mica-based pearlescent pigments and up to 15% iron oxide. That's the whole sheet. No titanium dioxide listed in those verified colors. The gold luster dust runs richer. 46 to 52% mica, 35 to 39% titanium dioxide, 14 to 19% iron oxide. That's the fully layered recipe. It's what makes the metallic sheen.
Wait, go back. You're telling me some shades are even simpler than that?
5 of them, per our spec sheet, are a single line. Mica-based pearlescent pigments. That's it. 1 ingredient family, full stop. White, Snow White, Iridescent Butterfly, Liquid Gold, Magic Rainbow. All the color and all the sparkle in those 5 comes from how the layers are built, not from anything added.
Okay, the lab stays open, because that sheet you mentioned has government numbers on it, 21 CFR something. When a label cites that, is that the government approving the glitter?
No, and this distinction matters more than anything else in this episode. 21 CFR 73.350 and 21 CFR 73.200 are sections of the Federal Food Code. The first lists mica-based pearlescent pigments as a color additive allowed in specific foods, capped at 1.25% of the food's weight. The second lists iron oxide. They're listings, permission slips with conditions attached. They are not product approvals. The FDA does not approve edible glitter. It doesn't approve any product like this. So when you see approval-shaped language on a shimmer label, the honest version of that sentence is much narrower. The color additives inside may be federally listed. The product itself carries no approval. No glitter does.
Then be honest about what the citation is worth. If it's not an approval, why should a number on a label comfort me at all?
Because the citation is the difference between an ingredient with rules and an ingredient with vibes. A listed color additive has a defined identity, purity specs, and a legal ceiling on how much can end up in your food. An unlisted sparkle powder has a vibe. When a label says 21 CFR 73.350, you can look that section up tonight. free, and check the claim yourself. When a label says nothing, there's nothing to check. That's the entire comfort. And I'd argue it's the only kind of comfort worth having.
Which brings us to my actual fear, because you've been circling it. I'm not scared of Mica anymore. I'm scared of the jars that don't say anything at all.
Then let me make it concrete with a real buyer. This January, in the categories review data, there's one that stops you cold. A buyer flipped the jar over, looking for what was inside, and found nothing. No ingredient list, no composition. They wrote it right in the review, no ingredients listed. Think about what that moment is. Someone bought sparkle to put in food, did the single most responsible thing a shopper can do, turned the jar around, and the jar just declined to answer.
And that jar is sitting on the same shelf, in the same search results, as the real stuff.
Same shelf, same search results, sometimes the same product photos. In an analysis of about 2,400 category reviews, 9.5% of the negative mentions were buyers discovering the sparkle they bought was never edible at all. Decoration-only glitter sold in an edible aisle. Most craft glitter is cut plastic. And the label loophole from our very first episode does the rest. Non-toxic on a tube means it probably won't poison you the way a crayon won't. It does not mean food. But here's the number that reframed this episode for me. Of the ingredient-related complaints in the category's review data, over 66%, 2 out of every 3, aren't about any ingredient. They're about missing information. The category's biggest trust problem isn't mica or dyes or even titanium dioxide. It's silence.
Then I'm planting a flag, and I want it on the record. If the jar doesn't show a list, put it back. I don't care how pretty the sparkle is, and I don't care whose name is on the label. Ours included. No list, no sale. That's my rule now.
That's the round you win, and it isn't close. And notice what a low bar your rule sets. A real ingredient list is 4 short families, and printing it costs 1 line on a label. Any jar that can't clear that has already answered your question. It's the whole reason safety sheets exist per color, so that when somebody flips the jar answers.
All right, one more objection, because it's the text I'll get from my sister. Her kid reacts to red 40, so she avoids it everywhere. Is this category a minefield for her?
It's a category where she has to read every label, and I won't pretend otherwise. Some shades, the true reds, some pinks and blues, use FD and C dyes, and red 40 is one of them. That's exactly why they're named on the jar. For her, the move is the mineral end of the palette, those 5 single ingredient shades, or a gold that gets its color from iron oxide layers instead of dyes. The sparkle she wants exists without the dye she's avoiding, but only the label tells her which jar is which. Same lesson, every direction.
Time for the honesty segment. Who should skip this stuff entirely?
3 groups today. If nobody's eating what you're decorating. A display piece, a photo prop, craft night with the kids. Skip edible entirely. Craft glitter is cheaper and made for exactly that job. If anyone at your table strictly avoids synthetic dyes or titanium dioxide, don't buy on trust. Either pick from the single ingredient shades or skip any shade that lists what you're avoiding. And if you want your dessert to taste different, this is the wrong aisle. This stuff is an odorless, flavorless mineral shimmer. It changes what food looks like, never what it tastes like. The sparkle is the entire product.
Scorecard time. I walked in holding a jar that said mica and expecting a horror story. Where I've landed, the real recipe is 4 short families. A layered mineral, rust's respectable cousin, the white pigment with an asterisk, and the frosting aisle dyes. The gold has no gold in it, and I've decided to find that delightful instead of offensive. The government numbers are permission slips with conditions, not approvals. And that's still worth more than a blank label. And the caveats I'm keeping. Titanium dioxide rules genuinely differ by market. Dye avoiders have homework to do, and my new rule stands for everything in my cart. No list, no sale.
That rule is the whole episode in 4 words. And here's the context that should sit underneath it. Nearly 500,000 jars of this short recipe have shipped. Over 400,000 orders across the US, Canada, and the UK. And the gold sits at 4.6 stars across 6,669 ratings. Transparency scales just fine. If you want to see a short list in the wild, the Monji ASQUE Iconic Gold 10-gram drink glitter is on Amazon. Flip to the ingredient section before you buy it. We insist.
Next time on the show, the question I tripped over today without noticing. I've been saying glitter and luster dust like they're twins, and they are clearly not. So what's the actual difference between edible glitter and luster dust?
Flakes and dust finally get their showdown. And further down the season, the question Dana's sister is really asking: is edible glitter safe? Full stop, kids and all. The whole file on the table. Quick note before we go. This show is produced by the team at Monégasque with AI-crafted hosts, and every number you heard was checked by humans against the documents. See you at the table.